We are moving into the early evening hours here in Birmingham, Alabama, and we welcome you back to the 2022 World Games. 3 games down and 1 to go on the opening day of the flying disc competition. Germany, Australia, and Colombia are the 3 winners thus far, and now we got USA and Great Britain to wrap up our quadruple header of competition. Back with Daryl Stanley, Megan Tormey, I am Evan Lepler. The USA enters this event as the favorite. They've won the last 4 World Games gold medals. However, 5 times USA has been in the World Games. How many times of those 5 have the U.S. gone undefeated at the World Games? Just twice.
2 times.
So 3 out of 5 times previously they've lost a game. Is this USA team invincible or not?
Wow. Man, you really put me on the spot. I mean, I got to say, I think there's ways that we can have mistakes happen on this team. I mean, there's a lot of very dynamic throwers that can create something from nothing. However, that's not always what you want. Like we saw with Colombia, they were way more systemic, and that's not necessarily how all the USA players will play. So if there's ever a susceptibility, I think it might be that.
Yeah, I also think that they're impervious, especially after watching Germany today. Germany looked so clean and so concise. It's definitely going to be a difficult matchup when they face off tomorrow. But yeah, there's definitely some kinks in the armor that I'm sure we'll learn today. Or not, but I don't think that this is going to be an undefeated march to the end.
There's a different format this year. Of course, it was not an undefeated march in 2017 when the USA lost to Colombia at the start of the tournament, a game they avenged in the finals, and you are watching finals footage right now. By the end of this game, it felt like everyone on the USA team had a heroic highlight. The pieces just kind of fell into place, and credit to Alex Gesquier and Maddie Singh, the coaches. They retooled their game plan and their style of play kind of from game 1 of the tournament to the final.
Yeah, I mean, they really had to find their roles, I think, as a result of that loss. And I think that's actually going to be what this Team USA needs to figure out. I know Maddie is exceptional at doing that with his team, Fury. And multiple times he's done that for Team USA as an assistant coach. Hopefully that experience will allow him to maybe say the right things and put people in the right positions earlier without requiring a setback game to find them.
There are a half dozen players on this current USA World Games team that has been on a World Games team before. This is the oldest team in the tournament. There are more players 30 years of age or older on USA, 8 of them, than there are on any other team. So there's experience. We'll see if they are athletic enough to match up with the other top teams of this tournament.
Well, certainly knowing the roster, we know that they are athletic players, and the format of this tournament is conducive to allowing players who are getting older the opportunity to still put out a really great performance and then take plenty of time to recover. But it is still something that we will have to keep an eye on, especially if it comes down to them playing the very athletic Colombian team.
Yeah, absolutely. And that graphic just now with the pools, I think is really vital. In that former format, losing a game early in the tournament wasn't necessarily a death knell to your medal aspirations. I think this time it might be. USA can't afford that kind of stumble.
A couple of proud Brits are getting ready to call this one for you from the Olympic Channel studios in Madrid. Tom Stiles and Henda Pendlebury. And look, this is a GB team that does have some experience. Justin Ford is no stranger to the international stage. And Ashley Yo talked about the value of working with just 14 players and how to adapt in this low substitution setting. Here's Ashley Yo with a little bit more on the GB perspective.
I think we have a lot of two-way players. We have a lot of players that in the past have played on power lines and played 2, 3, 4 points in a row when it's been important. And so I don't think there was too much of an adaptation needed. I think if anything, coming from these World Games trainings and then going to play a tournament for our club teams, it feels more of a difference going back and playing and having a point off and then maybe subbing off for your next point, and you effectively having 3 points off. That actually feels a lot more strange. pretty much through this whole process, we have played in short lines. I know some of the other teams maybe have had larger lines and larger squads as they've gone through the process. I know when we went out to Heidelberg and we played against Germany and France, one of the things that we focused on, we played through 14 players every game. So it was a different 14 players every game, but we were playing a World Games match every game.
Opener of this World Games would be against the home country, the #1 seed, the 4-time defending gold medalist. So, Daryl, as the underdog, what is GB's recipe for an upset against the USA?
I think you got to maybe goad the people into these mistakes. Ask which Jimmy Mickle is going to throw today. Khalif, first time on this stage. Are you ready? What kind of throws are you going to put up? I would challenge them there and then hit them very quickly on the transition.
It is a tough task for Great Britain, but I really think that if they come out hot quickly, that is going to make a very big difference. We saw in the game Canada versus Germany that it's such a short game, only to 13 points. You really don't allow yourself much time to come back if you don't come out quickly. So Great Britain has to be prepared to possess the disc no matter what defensive strategy USA comes out with.
Had a quick look at Matty Sang. He's the head coach of the USA World Games team for the first time. He was an assistant under Alex Gesquier in 2013 in Colombia and in 2017 in Poland. He's got an experienced coaching staff underneath him, though. Patrick Sherlock, who's won national championships with Philly Amp. Miranda Roth-Knowles, who played in the World Games in 2005, winning gold in Germany. And she's certainly one of the great players and coaches in the sport. All right. Picks. USA versus GB, the final game of day one here in Alabama. Daryl?
USA.
USA.
I am not going to do anything crazy. We got a couple of Britons on the call, Tom Stiles and Hannah Pendlebury from the Olympic Channel studios in Madrid. We'll take you through the first half. We'll see you again at halftime, the final game of the day here on day one of the World Games. These ladybugs are flying around and baffling us. USA, GB, take it away, fellas.
Every 4 years, there is a new opportunity. A chance for the world's best players to take center stage. A chance for glory, for teamwork, for upsets, for gold. 8 countries are sending their 14 finest to Birmingham, Alabama for the opportunity to reach the pinnacle of ultimate. The 2022 World Games start right now.
High over the fields in Birmingham, Alabama, the World Games is closing out the first day with USA versus Great Britain. Tom Stiles alongside Hannah Pendlebury and 2 Brits watching a game with the USA. Now, just to get one thing clear, we thought this was going to be a bit of a one-sided match, but having seen Canada and Germany this morning, everything is up to play for. Hannah, what have we got to expect in this big game for the USA and GB?
Well, Tom, I think you've said it all. The Europeans are fired up here in Alabama, this fine opening day of the World Games, flying disc action. It's a big task to take down the USA team. They do have a bit more wisdom and experience in their roster. So let's take a little bit of a look at who we've got coming out on the field for the host nation.
Yeah, we're going to have to watch every player on this USA team. There is no weak links here. Khalif El Salam, one of the most outstanding players in the mixed division. I think a very experienced mixed player. But, you know, you've got people like Kayla Helton and Opie Payne. Opie's had previous World Games experience as well. And then the youngster, Claire Trope. A lot of people excited to see her play as well. With some old hands, Chris Kocher, Jimmy Mickle, Grant Lindsley, all returning alongside Dylan Freechild to the World Games stage. There's so much experience on that USA line.
There certainly is, and plenty of caps and national representation, though, for the team from Great Britain. A shade younger across the board, some young talent coming through. Interestingly, we're not going to see quite so many mixed stalwarts coming out for the GB side. More of the kind of open and women's division players coming together, seeing how they merge in this first opening game is going to be really crucial as they start their campaign towards a shot at a semi-finals berth if they can surmount and get a second place in the pools. First time we're seeing pool play in the World Games format, and it's fantastic to see that excitement and that tactical element. Will be interesting to see if we actually get a look at the A game of the USA, or if they're going to perhaps play a little bit looser on their lines, give us a little bit like lower down in the playbook, bringing out the back pocket so that they can keep that upper echelon stuff for the business end of the tournament. But certainly they'll be looking to take their first scalp here.
It's the USA lining up. Just to mention some of the GB players that were rostered up as they'll come through your screen, we'll try and mention them. But Justin Ford, I think, is the player that is probably best known, mentioned in the build-up as well. There he is in the 28 shirt. Players still with their masks on. We've been really careful with COVID in the preparation before they fly out. We see number 37 there. Watch out for Ellie Taylor. She's electrifying with her pace. And number 20, Ashley Yo. One of the most fantastic experience. Huge ups, but also a really good short disc player these days, much more nimble, and he's going to be a force to be reckoned with as well. There's Alex Lakes for Great Britain,
who you might recognise more under the surname of Alex Brooks. It is the same individual on your screens. Your eyes are not deceiving you, having changed his name when he got married recently. So just to give you that little bit of background. But in terms of Ashley Yo, actually, a little fun fact for you here, Tom. And he played in his first season of Ultimate in the University of Sussex over in Brighton. He actually was training with weighted shoes a la basketball players because his ups were so good. He had to have that extra bit of resistance in training just to make things fair and train him up. But plenty of young talent, as you say, coming through. Got a little bit of the back of the shirt of Jack Williams there, one of the top players to watch during this matchup against GB.
Yeah, Williams, Freechild and Goff, and you saw Claire Trope there, 37 shirt as well. I'm really excited for this game. I think GB are really excited for this game as well. I spoke to some of the players in the build-up, and they know that this first game for USA, that's where they tripped up. Last time, 2017, their opening game was against Colombia, and they came unstuck. They weren't ready. They got upset. Colombians came out firing on all cylinders. It was an amazing game. But that you can't afford in this tournament format one game a day for 3 days in the pool play, and then a semi and a final. So just 5 games over 5 days. It all to play for. Hands in the air from Great Britain. Alex Lake signals that Great Britain are ready to play. Grant Lindsley hoiks that one downfield. It's going to stay in. And Lakes centres straight away. Great Britain in the white, USA in the darks. On the sideline, Karen Kwok flicks back. Big pressure from USA straight away. Inside shot. 28 shirt of Jack Williams, marking the 28 shirt of Justin Ford. It's going to be an interesting matchup to see how those two contain each other. Centres to Ollie Gordon. to Kwok again. Gordon available for the reset, comes back. Fast cut across the field from Ford. Gets it to Kwok on the line again with another big fake, but having those options taken away. Gonna have to be a big bid for that to keep it alive. It was high release, just floated a little bit too long, Hannah.
Yeah, trying to scoot around the defender, not able to make the hero bid, and the US with their first shot at a break, and it's a big one.
Going to be floating, it's going to be high, it's perfectly red all the way in for Opie Payne. Opens the account for USA with a break, and it was the defensive pressure that forced that turnover from Great Britain.
Yeah, after some nice sort of patient resets from the handler set, a little bit of a loose disc from Kwok gives the disc, and Opie Payne still stamping the book for the US after returning from the 2013 Cali squad. Didn't make it for 2017, which was a bit of a shocker, but she'll be delighted to get the first one on the board for her national side.
And she was on that mark as well. I mean, I know she didn't get any contact on the disc, but every time Karen Kwok's throwing those big fakes, Opie Payne's just there. Her speed of adjustment of her position really, really difficult to take care of. You see her there on the side of the field. Now, we mentioned briefly the amount of experience on the USA team. Opie Payne, one of the most experienced players. They have this kind of, the women line in particular, a lot of them are Masters eligible. They've got a point to prove here, haven't they? Just to, that athletically they can hang with any team.
Whoa, as a Masters eligible player myself, Thomas, I'm going to have to say you can hang tough. It's all about your athletic conditioning. And if you follow the likes of Kayla Helton on Instagram, you can see that she is a top athlete and she's been putting in the work to chase after the young'uns here on the field.
Big bid, reaching behind from Ford to keep that wayward disc from Gordon from going to ground. On this near side is Kwan. Ford just jostling free. Again, it's been marked this time by Kocher. Ford opens up the arm. Gordon running free, just like they do back home on the park. Connecting the Ford and Gordon. And that is a hold for Great Britain. Much needed to steady the ship after that opening break going the way of the USA.
We're talking at the opening of this game about how important it is for GB to have a good start here. This is not necessarily the game where you want to put everything on the line to win it. We are seeing on both sides of the pools, two rather dominant forces in Team USA and Team Colombia expected to take that solid berth straight into the semis. But looking at the shape of this game, we might get a little bit of nerves perhaps from the US side. Thus far they look pretty cool and composed. As we said, is the GB team going to mesh? We saw the connection there, the open team for the de facto men's division. For those that are not familiar with us calling it open, it's the division which anyone of any gender identity can play, which is fantastic. But are we going to see the connections work out in the GB side? So we do have lots of people who are not familiar with playing together. We have a couple of mixed GB representation. We have Nick Williams for the Ben Barak for the men's side, and of course Carla Link and Fiona Kwan and Karen Kwok for the women.
Big disc going downfield. Those first game nerves for USA not present in the only point. Oh no, block from Great Britain as it gets knocked out the side of the field. Brilliant hand position from Bex Palmer with a block and a chance for Great Britain to get back on even terms. Alex Lakes brings to the side of the field. Centres. Ben Barak to Ellie Taylor. Taylor looks around and finds an outlet. Big cross field to Palmer again. Resets to Lakes. Undershot nicely to Link. Link rotates around the outside. There's going to be pressure on this. A high take, a trailing foot. What a grab from Nick Williams, who celebrates for Great Britain. That is a break back to Great Britain. And they're back on serve, having conceded that opening break to the USA.
We see Carla Link there, hailing from the women's club team of Bristol Ultimate. taking an expansive shot across the back to her fellow teammate from the 2019 Jur squad that took gold at the European Championships. And a great break. What a response here from Great Britain.
Exactly what was needed. Interestingly, Lindsley had position there, was up in front of the disc. You see that replay of the block from Bex Palmer, gets the hand down in front of Caroline Normile. It's the first turnover of the game for her. But yeah, that put into the end zone, maybe GB riding their luck a little bit. You've got Williams underneath it, going up, taking it above Lindsley. A dominant performance in the end zone.
Well, I like that shot. I like the excitement. I like the intensity. That's how you're going to have to come out against this US side. Take your chances. Have a bit of a go with it. Because if you play too quiet and too conservative, it might give the Americans a chance to just leather that pressure on. So, second opportunity for GB's D-line. Can they get 2 blocks in a row?
Tom Abrams with the big pull. Finney gets it up to Jimmy Mickle. Mickle opens up the arm, flicks it downfield. Lots of time, easy, just short of the end zone. The Great Britain zone defence cut wide open with a big Mickle flick, and it's popped into the end zone for Claire Chastain to collect. Made that look very easy, USA.
I think there must have been some sort of miscommunication for the defensive efforts there. Jack Williams absolutely riotously free in the deep space for the USA side. We know that Jimmy Mickle is one of the elite throwers in the world, and just showing his class, opening up that arm beautifully and just positing just shy of the goal line. Not seen any of the teams yet on these fields in Alabama overthrowing the field, sometimes overthrowing the targets. We saw the Canadians come a bit unstuck in their first game, but a nice pop in and an easy goal for the Team USA.
Yeah, I called that as a zone, a zone busting shot, but it was just confusion between the Great Britain players about who was marking who. At this level, that's a basic mistake to not be covering one person each. There's all sorts of different systems that teams use to make sure that everybody knows who they're marking when they run down and they face off. They don't always mark the person that's directly opposite them, particularly in mixed gender ultimate, where the person opposite you isn't necessarily a gender match. But come on, this is the World Games, and in the third point, we've got people left completely unguarded. Lindsley sends it for Great Britain to start from the back. 2-all. And a big saggy look from the USA, just coming off their marks and taking up the space in the middle of the field. Often we see a one-to-one mark where players are really tight on their mark. USA not doing that around the handlers, just taking up space instead. Handlers have to respond to that to take those poaches away from the field. Abrams opens up the arm, sends it deep. 2 players cutting. Link in there. Ollie Gordon's there as well.
And the former Next Gen star reels in the goal. You can see there Gordon happy to play in the handler space, but then it's the sneaky look that I quite favour myself, Tom. I'm quite a tall individual. I'm quite a good athlete. I'm just going to sit here, hang out in the handler space, be an available reset, and then when my mark poaches off, sags off into the lane, off to the races we go. A nice score for Great Britain, a good hold, finding the rhythm of this match.
Well, it should be no surprise to anyone who's watched any Great Britain or Clapham Ultimate that Ollie Gordon, this is what he does. He's incredibly good in the air. He's very quick. He's 6'5", so he's got a good start. And Tom Abrams, that's a typical target for him to be throwing to Ollie Gordon. So good connection, well worked there. Good clean game as well so far. Only 2 turnovers, and they both led to breaks.
They certainly did, Tom. And it's nice to see Gordon coming out and finding a bit more fire. He's had a couple of casual seasons, if I can say that, but being one of the alternates coming in to replace Will Rowledge, who was lost to an injury for GB.
Finney, USA. Game trying to find its feet after those break each way. Big bid comes across, takes away the option. That was Ben Barak with the block, getting it for Great Britain. Chance to break again against the USA. I think it was Chastain's disc across. And a contact made, pick called. What did you make of that big bid from Great Britain there?
Well, that's exactly what you have to do. Barak getting big for his team and snagging the disc and an opportunity for another cheeky break.
Taylor taps in. Palmer cuts up the line. One-handed grab. Helton marking. Has to go around. Helton gets the hand down and gets the block back for USA. Pauses her run deep.
Bit of revenge for her teammate Normile.
Mikkel looking for options. Sends it back across, middle of the field. Chastain to Normile, up the far side of the line, playing it around the edges of the field here. Chris Kocher played World Games alongside Jimmy Mikkel in 2017. Using both sides of the field now, as we see Sarah Meckstroth first touch of the disc for her. Mikkel finding that nice inside to Normile. Normile floats across. It was, I think it was to El Salam there, but nobody reacted in the end zone. USA coming down with it, and it's ultimately it's a hold for the USA, but they will not be comfortable about that.
No, a bit of a dirty hold indeed. Confusion for Team USA, but Meckstroth with the heads-up play, snagging that one, just snapping it out of the air, the Dragon Thrust player from North Carolina Phoenix.
Let's have a look at some of the highlights from that point. Here's the block from Ben Barak, cutting off that Claire Chastain crossfield pass. And here's Bex Palmer getting point blocked by Kayla Helton as well. Brilliant use of the reach and range from Helton. And Normile, I'm going to say that was not the intended receiver, but Meckstroth showing real awareness. And perhaps Ellie Taylor was a little blind to the threat, not expecting the disc to come. Didn't react when it did.
Well, opportunities for both sides, but this is exactly the game we want to see out here at this level. We don't want to see unforced errors, we want to see blocks, and that is what both teams are giving us on their defensive efforts.
Yeah, the defense has been intense. Claire Trope with the big pull. We're playing 4 women, and if there's 4 women on the field for this point, then a woman is going to be pulling. Keeping that Aliska alive, unbelievable. That was a crazy grab off the ground by Fiona Kwan.
Absolute redemption. Hero bid.
I'm not sure who the touch off that swing pass was. Let's have a look at the replay here. Oh, it's Williams. Brilliant fingertips. Fiona Kwan keeping the disc alive and rescuing Williams' blushes.
And a great gallop from Freechild to avoid ploughing into her.
Two players bidding. It was a messy disc. Contact made. Williams and Freechild, complete disagreement about whose disc that was. Having a conversation, but Freechild seemed really clear about his view of that.
It's a difficult one when you're redeeming a disc that's been overthrown, because obviously both players are reacting to a very live situation, trying to get their agility fired up to make the bid. Pretty close call, but players will have an opportunity to chat, which is always the important thing.
Both seem to have hands on the disc, but I think Freechild had got there first. What I think doesn't really matter, because it's a self-officiated sport. And so Williams is withdrawing that call. Great to see that, even at the very highest level. Self-officiating working really well. Two players talking about it. The game advisor didn't get involved in the call, there was just there to listen. Normile centres to Lindsley. Hustling defence from Great Britain. Freechild. Look at the speed of Freechild. Darting away. Good switch from Great Britain. Normile swings it across. Helton. Lindsley, front of the end zone. Freechild stamping his authority on the game and spiking the disc to the ground. That is a break to the USA. They're up again, 4-3.
Tiptoe scores for Freechild. That was nice play from the US team. Again, calm and confident. They don't really look shaken. There's fire intensity from both sides. They're just sort of feeling out the shape of this game at the moment. That's a really good opportunity for the US. Perhaps might see a timeout called sometime soon. But certainly nothing to cause too much concern to Team GB at this stage. I think they could probably clean up a little bit. There were some slightly loose throws in that one. Obviously, that's what caused the bid between Freechild and Williams. Nice opportunity for those to have a chat about that. This is one of the things I really like about playing Ultimate and watching Ultimate, is that you have those discussions between players where you can make a call and have the opportunity to just have a think and actually have that interplay between the athletes out here on the fields.
Elton with the disc there, and then this final pass. Freechild, such a threat deep that you have to respect that, and Tom Abrams trying to take him deep, but then Freechild just coming back to the front of the end zone for an easy reception. Very tight game so far.
And it is going to be a game of inches for so many of the matchups at this elite level. The field has been torn wide open so far today. Let's see if Team GB can do their own.
Well, the disc from Link was asking a lot of questions down the sideline. Taylor couldn't contain it. It's back with the USA with a chance to go 2 breaks in a row. El Salam. High rise from Mextroth. The shadows lengthen in Birmingham, Alabama, but the smiles across the USA faces are just expanding. Williams takes it in. That's 3 points in a row. USA with the momentum here.
Yeah, starting to find their footing, using the around space, the closed side of the field that defense are trying to shut down with their marks very competently and confidently. Just really reaching around and just stealing, pickpocketing almost from Team GB right now.
USA have been using every single player on the field, going through a lot of hands. Such a strong side.
Well, in one of the research chats we were doing, there was a theory posited that you could take away the top 3 players from both sides of the gender matchups for Team USA, fill them with other players that were trialling for the World Games squad, and probably still be quids in for a gold medal. That's just the depth of field that you have to choose from. And what a hard decision for the likes of Matty Zhang to have to cut this squad to just 14 players.
Yes, I remember, I mean, every World Games coach has got this almost impossible task of taking a whole nation's worth of players. And, you know, unlike a lot of other sports, they don't play a lot of national ultimate the rest of the time. But in a World Games year, getting the players together, identifying the talent, and then building a team from it, that's the really tricky thing. In mixed ultimate, it's much more about the team chemistry than the individual performances. And we've seen how important that is. But yeah, USA, under the leadership of Matty Zhang, alongside Miranda Roth and Patrick Sherlock as well, they're in safe hands and they're looking strong in this game. 3 points in a row, 2 breaks, and Freechild sporting those now quite distinctive under-eye slashes.
Watch out, later in the week we might see the Tutti Frutti USA team strip later on. They're currently in a rather plain navy blue. We like it, but keep your eyes peeled all week. We might be treated to some very flashy, colourful kits from the Team USA.
I'm hoping the Tutti Frutti shirt stays purely for party and warming up. It is quite special.
It's definitely a look. We've seen a lot of the Team USA teams across disciplines and sports in recent years come out with some interesting, perhaps questionable fashion choices.
So USA pulling the disc out of bounds. Alex Lakes brings it to the brick mark and gets it straight away to Ollie Gordon. Lakes trying to reset, trying to get free of the attentions of Lindsley. Now he's just waiting in that space. He's going to have to come underneath, but this is a hard, high stall. Again, it's Ollie Gordon with the deep space who just flutters it and drops it to the floor. Nate Goff not really providing any pressure there. But the USA have it now. Lindsley resets to the centre, then goes off on a chase across the field. Williams resets. One cut at a time from the USA. Lefty to El Salam in the end zone. And USA are rolling this one now. They've scored 4 points in a row and they lead this one 6-3.
Absolutely. Ford trying almost a soccer-style tackle for the foot block on the far side of the field. But I think we're starting to see the pressure of the sheer weight and volume of defence that the USA side are leathering onto the Team GB. I think their ship is starting to creak a little bit. The wood is starting to warp and bend just under the relentlessness of the athleticism of their matchups.
I was going to check I didn't call the wrong score there. My apologies, it was Opie Payne for the score.
That's all right, no worries. We are seeing a good spread of stats thus far across the board. Freechild at the moment, the stats leader for the Team USA side, with 2 assists, 1 goal and 1 all-important block. We are indeed counting blocks here. Those of you who are D-line players will be big fans of that. In fact, actually, someone we've not seen a lot from so far this game, Claire Trope, actually is a big fan of defence. Quotes Sarah Serge Griffith as one of her ultimate heroes, who is, well, she was trying to live up to the example of gritty, smothering defensive pressure of the USA side.
So Great Britain's offensive responsibilities need to be taken care of here. They cannot afford another break. Ollie Gordon. Tom Abrams under a lot of pressure there from Chris Kocher. Swings it across field. And it was Bex Palmer reaching and coming up empty-handed. USA dominant here. Mickle. Big yard gainer across the top from Mextroth. El Salam flicks. There's going to be some pressure here. Abrams reading up and getting across the top of Mextroth. Contact made. Yeah, uncontested from Abrams. Mextroth be checking it in and bring it to the front of the end zone. Uncontested foul in the end zone. USA take the disc at the edge of the end zone and they've called a timeout.
Interesting choice there from Mextroth. I don't hate it, although are we going to see one of the world infamous turnouts? We did have a big spread of people, but I guess after a stoppage, you've already had a stoppage anyway, difficult to come into play, but an opportunity for GB to set the ideal defensive matchups. So, but at the moment, we're seeing the USA basically throwing wherever they want on the field, breaking all day long.
Yeah, Opie Payne with those 2 big points to her name. Is Lindsley with the next one. Full spread of play from the USA. Very hard to keep with. Are there any countries that can keep with them? El Salam to Williams for that 3rd break. And that's why they're in front here, Hannah.
I'd like to see an adjustment from TGB's marks. It really does seem like the USA are just throwing around them with ease. Not really much pressure. Hitting that space that's so difficult because, I mean, all of the players out here are rapid as it gets. But really, they're making their lives much more difficult. The USA, perhaps we can be goading them into some slightly riskier opportunities on the inside channels, those really close windows, because that is what the USA are making GB do right now. They're making them have to take small window opportunities that have to be executed flawlessly. The heat has dropped a little bit, but we'll see them come back into play now.
Mextroth, quick dish back to Mickle, who rises, grabs and lands inbounds. The easiest of points for the USA. They are rolling again. 4 breaks in a row, and Jimmy Mickle doesn't look like he can believe how straightforward that was.
Yeah, taking half very, very calmly. See a little ice pack be put on the shoulders there. Bit of a juggernaut score, that one, just running directly towards the end zone. I wouldn't want to try and get in the way of Jimmy Mickle to stop that bit of footwork.
And the USA D-line, they've got 5 blocks from GB, and they've scored. That doesn't sound right. They haven't. The USA D-line have not turned over once. Big celebration. We'll be back shortly. The Great Britain have got a lot of work to do. USA 7 and Great Britain 3.
We are back in Birmingham, the best crowd of the day, save for this USA GB game. And after a somewhat slow start, GB led 3-2, 5 straight goals for the reigning gold medal champs. The Americans take half 7-3. Evan Lepler, Megan Tormey, Daryl Stanley. It felt like Dylan Freechild upped the intensity for the United States, and that's when the run really took off.
Absolutely. At that moment, I didn't quite realize how much impact that would have on the game, but totally got them riled up. I mean, we heard him, Megan, you heard in the timeout afterwards that the heat timeout. He was firing everybody up after that, right?
Yeah, and you noticed an uptick in the speed of the game after that. There, the point block, the hand block on Carolyn Normile. You know, after that, USA really was just a step ahead of Great Britain. And, you know, the defensive effort that we saw at the beginning of the game started to go the way of USA.
Well, Nick Williams made his imprint on the first half performance, and a heck of a D there from Burak. But you've seen the 2 turnovers to the United States, the hand block and the poach block. That was a nice grab. But,
off a deflection, too.
Yeah, no more. This was the D that really changed the intensity in the field for USA.
Absolutely.
Freechild with the bookends, an emphatic spike. Daryl, I mean, this was your first chance to see USA in real live competition. Have your expectations been confounded at all? What do you think about what you saw?
Wow. I have a mix of emotions, honestly. The coaches had the easy, breezy nature that I expected. You know, Maddie was cool, calm, and collected over there. But to see, like, Dylan Freechild, I think I wasn't expecting his leadership. Like, I mean, is this his second World Games? Very good. And he's had some experience with the WUGC team as well. It's starting to show. Like,
in the spotlight his whole ultimate life.
That's also true. But yeah, I just didn't expect that. Are you saying? Is this the USA you expected?
You know, honestly, the thing that I am most pleased about with the performance from USA so far is how everyone is trying to do something but not do too much. Everyone is hitting their spots and clearing out immediately if the throw doesn't go to them. It's looking very disciplined, very organized out on the field, and the handlers are not having to make crazy shots or look twice down the field because downfield players are keeping plenty of space and handlers are resetting at an appropriate time. It's feeling calm, even though it's incredibly intense.
All right, USA leads 7-3 over Great Britain. One more half of ultimate to go here on day 1 of the flying disc competition at the 2022 World Games. Tom Stiles and Hannah Pendlebury with a call the second half after the break.
So expected, I don't know.
is he getting that right?
That's like, yeah.
Second half of this USA-Great Britain game here at the World Games, Birmingham, Alabama. And the home side, the reigning champions and the favourites, USA, played a fantastic first half. Sarah Mextroth on the sideline coming out. Oh, and just as we were saying what a fantastic first half they played, that was a basic communication error. Mextroth and Normile making eye contact, but not really understanding what that meant. The throw behind the receiver disappears into the turf. And Great Britain with a chance to break in the second half, which they will really need to take. Tom Abrams cutting up the line. It's a big reset across the field to Kwok. Cross, and Bex Palmer just cannot get her fingertips to it. They know that they need to stretch every pass in order to keep the disc alive. Abrams trying to mark Mickle on the far side, and it's gone out of bounds, and frustration from the USA. They've having finished the first half so strongly, 2 basic throwing errors in the opening point of the second half, Hannah.
2 gifts for GB in a row. A nice short field opportunity here. See if they can make it good with it. Perhaps trusting themselves a little bit, not too much stretching the throws.
Yeah, I think having a gift is one thing. Being able to open it is the other challenge, isn't it? And the USA do not make that straightforward at all. Karen Kwok. Low disc to Abrams. Back to Kwok. Abrams cuts across the field. It's going to be dished forward for him. Mickle on the back. A little bit too much on the back, to be honest. Floats across the top. There's going to be pressure here, but it's a rising hand from Ben Barak to bring it in. And GB with the perfect start to the second half. At the second time of asking a break. They're back within 3, but still a hill to climb, Hannah.
Lobbing it over Chris Kosher there. Pretty nice stuff. Saw the poach off, saw the isolation. My heart was in my throat a little bit. I thought he was going to get up and make a big play on the disc, but we didn't get a game of endless pass the parcel there to open up this second half.
Let's look at these throwaways from USA. That was the turnover coming back the other way. Bex Palmer being overthrown, couldn't do anything about it. And let's have a look at this. This is going for the swing pass. It's just over the head of Chastain. Nothing that she could do about it at all.
Well, it is difficult to play in the later stages of the afternoon. We've been talking about the shadows stretching across the fields here in Birmingham. And it's obviously nice to play in a slightly cooler section of the day. We're not having those quarter way through the game heat breaks to keep things cool. It's still very, very warm at the field site, but perhaps causing a bit of confusion as we reach the later stages of day 1.
It's a towering pull. It leaves a lot of work to come back inbounds, and it hasn't. No wind to speak of in Alabama.
And this is the first game we've really seen the pulls drift out of bounds quite so often.
Yeah, there's analysts and commentators who just, especially when it's so still, would say that as completely unforgivable. You've got to get your pull inbounds. It gives the opposition an 18-metre head start further up the field, and USA taking that advantage. Opie Payne on the sideline. This dishes it back to Freechild. This high angle allowing us to see the spaces and the cuts develop downfield from the drone. Freechild again. Cross-field passes. Bit of a confusion. Some blown coverage deep for the USA. Can they exploit it? Freechild sends the hammer spiraling through the sky. Oh, and it's just beyond the outreaching hands of Caroline Normile. She was free for so long in that point, Hannah.
Yeah, a bit of clustering in the centre of the field. I do like the expansive, everybody is an open opportunity style of play that the US are giving us, but it did avoid them being able to exploit the backfield separation. I mean, if that had come off, though, play of the day.
I think maybe Freechild saw the opportunity and wasn't prepared to let it go, but even if he probably should have done that, was a half-pitch length hammer coming in over Caroline Normile's head is not a high percentage disc. And they've given Great Britain a chance for another break here. Still got a lot of work to do. Reset. Disc with Lakes, gets it to Ford. Lakes, a real quick stop. Now moving it forward to Link. Link opens up the arm. Going to be some pressure underneath this, but Ford rises. Lakes gets the quick dish back. And then a quick exchange of passes at the front corner. And Great Britain have made the dream start to the second half. They have broken USA twice with some basic mistakes from the USA being punished. That's exactly what GB needed to do in the second half. Ford and Lakes combining beautifully on the side of that end zone, Hannah.
I love that shot up the far sideline to Ford to get us close to the goal line. A difficult throw to execute. I believe that was Link putting that one up, showing her skills with the disc. Oftentimes it's not one that the coaches will advise you to throw, that really small margin shot on the same third of the field, but giving a going action and a great break. Another look at this huge hammer from Freechild.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to think that Norma was unsighted by the sun or something there, because she just didn't seem to make a bid on it at all. Ford doing what Ford does and taking the disc above Lindsley, and that quick combination between the disc downfield though, Hannah, just what you were saying about Carla Link there, real power.
And beautiful execution. Also, I enjoy the situation Grant Lindsley ended up in is as a defender, the one you do not ever want to be in, where you're so close to where the mark is, so close to where a potential scoring target is. Which do you choose? But that moment of hesitation gave GB that break. Can they surmount the comeback?
Finney waits for the disc to come in. That's a great pull, much better from Great Britain, making the USA work. They've got a cut coming off the back. Big hand, big arm, goes downfield. Williams underneath this. And they're both Williams, Nick Williams for Great Britain. And in the end, the pressure, I think, forced Jack Williams to go up early underneath the disc. And Great Britain with a chance to start the second half with 3 breaks. Downfield shot goes up. It's just a fingertip touch from Karen Kwok. Could not quite connect on that deep shot. It was right on.
But right in the sun, you can see where the shine on the face is. That was directly looking into the blaze.
Jack Williams being marked by Nick Williams is a great competition. I'm loving watching that. Dishing back. Knifey, bladey shot across the field to Mextroth, the target, downfield. Brilliant timing from El Salam, just jogging forward, and then at the acceleration at the last minute, and a superb celebration. Just a sip of tea against the British.
Oh, that's got to be deliberate, for sure. Hot pressure from Ollie Gordon, but you know what? If you're Team GB right now, you're not that upset to be making the US have to play and score in that very small pocket right at the back of the end zone.
Yeah, I was chatting with Jimmy Mickle before the tournament, and he'd not played it with Khalif El Salam very often because Khalif normally plays in the mixed division. And he said he was just so impressed by the timing of the cuts, and I think that's something we really need to watch out for there. I mean, it was a really small window, like you say, but the timing of his acceleration into that corner, forcing Ollie Gordon, really giving him no option at all.
And once again, the arms of the Americans really reaching around the defensive forces. It really doesn't seem like the GB marks on the throwers are giving them that much trouble. They're still really looking very calm and confident with those around releases on the forehands.
Claire Trope let a little bit of an outside edge go on that one, and that has drifted out of bounds. Luckily, Claire will have some slow-mo footage to watch of pulling form there. Link gets it quickly to Barak. Barak opens up the arm, coming underneath it again, unsighted, and Trope makes up for the out-of-bound pull with a brilliant bit of defence. So much more aware than the Great Britain receiver. No doubt that disc was finishing in the turf.
Yeah, a difficult one on the matchups there. As a defender, you have the advantage. You have no need to catch it. You just have to find it and block it.
Williams marking Lindsley. Lindsley dumps back into the end zone for USA. Another great perspective. You see the shadows lengthen. See the runners cut. Nate Goff spins across to Normile. Looks for options. Good position from the Great Britain defender. Forces the question to be asked. Big bid coming in. Lindsley skips across the legs of Williams and then jacks it deep. It's going to be coming down in the hands of Claire Trope. What a brilliant finish, getting the block at one end and reeling it in at the other. USA have found their feet again and they are stomping this one. 9-5 they lead.
Yeah, bookends, double happiness for the 23-year-old coming out of Dartmouth College. Boston Brute Squad and DC Scandal appearances. Oh, and Seattle Riot as well. Is there anyone that Trope hasn't played for?
She's certainly travelled around, and those ultimate experiences are all combining now at the pinnacle of the sport here in Alabama. Have a look at that defensive pressure. I think it was Naden was the target, just didn't realise where the disc was coming in. Trope had eyes on it the whole time. Lindsley skipping over the legs. And perfectly weighted disc. Look at the speed of Trope there. No doubt about it. So Great Britain having scored 2 breaks to start the second half and looked like they were going to claw their way back into it at 7-5. USA snuffing out any comeback with a 9-5 scoreline right now. Some work to do.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen people come back from a larger deficit than 9-5 down, but against Team USA when they're firing on all cylinders, it's a hard ask. You see another pull rolling out of bounds.
Alex Lakes, 16 shirt, plays his ultimate in London for Clapham. Around, and USA switching to a zone, or is it just a poachy look, rescuing the disc from the ground? I know it is a zone for USA. First time we've seen that defensive strategy from the North Americans. Or they had it out earlier in the first half. Lakes, arcing disc. El Salam, ever present and ever aware, and fingertips was all it needed to send it over the head of Tom Abrams.
Yeah, just enough there. Not sure we saw a full zone from the US there. More just kind of like a poachy, switchy match defence look. But it pays off. A bit of a slow disc from GB. The opportunity for the defensive block for Salam.
This is the level that USA are bringing. I think GB players playing in Europe, there's not many teams where they were playing against where that disc wouldn't have connected. But against the USA, it doesn't. That extra pressure is big. Oh, a block back the other way. Tom Abrams getting horizontal, returning the favour. On the sideline, downfield, there's going to be some pressure in the front corner. Karen Kwok collects for Great Britain, recovering it after they lost. Carla Link providing the disc.
And that is a good hold after that turnover. Huge play from Abrams.
Yeah, I think Abrams was a little bit cross with himself for not maybe going up earlier and taking that disc down in the end zone. And we know he's an incredibly physical athlete, one of the strongest players, trains harder, lifts more than anyone else on the GB line, and is really determined to get down there and get that disc back. Yeah, Tom Abrams just really didn't get up enough. Maybe didn't see the defence there, but there's the redemption block back. Link, no hesitation at all.
You hear the sideline support there. GB looking to try and fire each other up. and get themselves back into this game forward with the pool.
Opening game here in Pool A for both of these teams as our first day of the competition closes out. USA in the black, Great Britain in the white shirts, and USA leading this one 9-6. Big cuts out into space. North American style ultimate being played by the North Americans. So lots of different styles of ultimate being played here. Big bid coming up. Touch. And it's going to come down in the end zone. There was nothing that Jack Williams could do. My goodness, he covered some ground to get over there, but couldn't quite snag it.
I like that play from Taylor, peeling off of the stack, seeing that the disc had gone up and just getting up in the mixer and causing Williams to have to make certainly not the line he wanted to take.
Yes, he had to get up early. Taylor, a much shorter player than Williams, so she was in a position where she could get to it. That pressure paying. Great Britain with a chance for a third break of the half. Williams had a great game so far. Sprints off deep, leaves the disc in the hand of Ford, gets it to Barak. Freechild covering that back. Barak opens up the arm, it's floating. Who's it going to be in front there? Oh, contact made, but no complaint from Williams. Interesting that Williams wasn't going flat out into the end zone there, almost stalled his run so he could sprint and run onto it. Great positioning from Goff to prevent the grab.
Another disc from GB that's sort of a bit softer, a bit of a sit and hang, to say, having to ease off, put the brakes on a little bit rather than just the full force battle between the two players, which does favour the defensive match.
Against this USA team, it just isn't good enough. The pressure from USA, especially in those deep spaces, is getting the disc back. Oh, really high quality back-handed grab. Had to reach back to get it, but kept it alive. Lindsley. Ford with a big poach on the mark. Moving it across now. USA looking to send it into the end zone. It's going to be drifting towards the back, and a perfectly timed reach up into the sky. Nate Goff pulling it out of the late evening sunshine in Alabama for a big lead here.
Yeah, the big man, 6'4" tall, coming out of Chicago Machine, takes it nice and early, sandwiched between two defenders, but easy reception for Team USA.
4 points the margin then, and it's going to be difficult for GB to find their way back into this. It's game to 13 as we see the highlights there. That shot into the deep space there from Freechild. Williams a bit upset with himself. I think he's probably being a bit hard. This is what you were talking about here, Hannah. Floating too long in the air, and Goff just gets a chance to get up there. Nothing Williams could do.
And a lovely put from Trope, just nice and up early, sort of. Despite the fact that you're surrounded by defenders, the cool, calm composure of Nate Goff, a little bit of a celebration there with the decorative hand is.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the throwing form from Trope there. Took the time, planted the foot, got the weight in the right position, and didn't send it with the full power, just enough weight and the rising grab from Nate Goff when you know you've got somebody that can get up that big.
And I did like the sort of offensive formation of the US side. They were sort of all together in almost a line of the field, sort of cascading down the field, just waiting for someone to make a move and rip open the deep space, which they did.
I wonder if the other teams watching this game, what they'll make of the USA performance here, because it has not been error-free. There's been quite a few mistakes from the USA. Not all of the GB possession, not all of the GB turnovers have come from Great Britain's defensive pressure. A lot of them have come by the way of American mistakes. Now they've clawed their way back into this and they've fought hard, and Great Britain have made enough mistakes of their own but they do not look infallible. They look, you know, quite vulnerable in some places even.
Well, we did get the big wobble in the second stage of the first half. Those 5 scores in a row is what puts Team USA sitting pretty. At the moment, GB actually up in the second half, 1 break.
Yeah, down after that first half, 7-3. Great Britain have gone to this deep shot quite a lot. Maybe they need to change the tactics and work it up the field, as we see Ford do that right now. Do so typically go for those deep shots. Abrams now floats it around to the far side. Sunshine blinding the players. I don't think I've seen Ashley Yeo on the field for Great Britain during the game so far, Hannah. I don't know if that's an injury. So Great Britain essentially playing with just 6 men.
I believe he is actually unwell today, so a big loss for the GB side.
Yeah, he's a huge player, huge asset. Downfield shot, it's not going to stay in the air long enough, or is it? Oh, what a bid from Justin Ford. Could not quite come up with it, and he has taken a body blow laying out for that. Maybe just hurt himself a little bit.
Well, in peak physical shape is Justin Ford, a personal trainer and cryptocurrency trader.
Fiona Kwan sends the disc down. Ford's got the bit between his teeth, lays out. Oh, almost had the hand wrapped around the disc, but it was a full blow to the chest. You see, he's just trying to catch his breath there. Ford needs to stay fit if Great Britain are to have a chance in the rest of these pool games.
Yeah, that would be a loss of one of the talismanic forces for Team GB. So much experience represented by one individual.
I think he has just winded himself. A colossal effort. The USA come up with a disc. Pressure going across, and there's going to be mismatch deep. GB scampering to try and cover the spaces. Khalif El Salam with the disc. USA looking comfortable now. Mextroth down the line. Cross-field pass in acres of space. Claire Chastain brings it under control, and they've broken Great Britain again. And USA capitalising on Great Britain's mistakes. Level it up in this second half, but that huge 4-point lead from the first half is going to make them extremely difficult to catch.
Yeah, starting to see some true class out of the USA there. An absolute find in the form of Claire Chastain, who had a lot of separation, not by virtue of having sprinted particularly fast, but just a little bit of a sag off. It seems like Team GB are a little bit in their own heads right now. They're playing much softer defence than we saw them play at the beginning of this game, and certainly when they came out strong in the second half. Perhaps their morale starting to fail them a little bit here, thinking it's a foregone conclusion, where we could still see them claw this one back. It'd be one for the highlight reel.
It is a big ask, and I think they know that. They also think they know they've got 2 more games. If they want to make semis, they've got to beat Canada and Germany. And before the tournament, everyone would have said the harder of these 2 games would be Canada, but Germany, looking incredible this morning. Mextroth for USA on the sideline. Floaty disc forward, that was not the ideal pass. Kocher with the assist in that previous USA point. Great Britain having to run around the back. Well, that's just a poor, not sure if that was a poor decision, a poor execution. Either way, discs on the floor, and USA with a chance to really snuff this game out, put themselves within 1 of the game. Game to 13 here at World Games. Shorter games. Oh, and the disc to Freechild was too much. Could not get more than the touch of the fingertips on it. It was Helton. with the overthrow. Abrams now. Looking off the first and second passes, Abrams. Now looking nervously downfield. And I'm afraid that's what happens when you look off the first two open passes.
Bizarre scenes, because there definitely were available opportunities in the upfield, but Abrams decided he didn't like the look of either of them.
I think contact made, so it's going to come back in on 0. Back in. Across to Ellie Taylor. Back to Abrams. Carla Link cutting up the line. Goes across instead to Barak. Abrams goes deep. That shot from Barak was through a crowd of players. It needed to be big and arcing and landing in the end zone. These are tired-looking, poor decisions from Great Britain.
Trying to take advantage of the flash of the defensive fade-off, which prevented the underpass. Didn't work.
Lindsley to Normile. Normile downfield. Helton sends it. Lindsley's underneath. Helton connects. Lindsley connects. USA connect. They have broken GB twice. They've extended their lead to 6 points. There's no way back from here. The USA machine is off and running.
I believe that was another around shot on the break. Sort of Helton throwing Lindsley open. But a lovely disc placement, and the USA one shy of planting their first tree in what will probably be a forest of wins for them here at this World Games.
Yeah, just the opportunity to see this overthrow from Helton, but she made up for it in the end. Barak is going to be unhappy with that shot. I think Abrams was probably free if the shot had gone there. Here's Helton's flick. And there's a difference between the two teams. Helton's flick's coming in on a knife edge to a very small point. No hang on the disc, no opportunity for the defender. The GB deep shots have been flat and hanging and waiting for someone to run onto them, giving the defenders plenty of chance. It's a different proposition the USA are posing here. They've got a lot of unanswered questions going into the rest of this tournament. And I'm sure some of the other teams at the World Games will be licking their lips, an opportunity to push them hard. Carla Link strolling up to the brick mark, the young Bristol player. The strongest handlers in the women's game in Great Britain. Deep shot downfield, collected in stride by Justin Ford. Glad to see he's recovered. Long shot connection straight from the Clapham training ground.
Indeed, it would be a big loss, especially with both Yo and Molly Wedge absent for illness in this game. So GB are actually playing with 12.
Yes, we didn't note Wedge was missing as well, of course.
And missing target for her teammate, Carla Link. Don't know exactly how many times they connected during the UK Nationals final last season, but I'm thinking it was in double digits, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, it's good that you've drawn that that point out. I must admit, I'd not noticed Wedge was missing, but Wedge and Yo, before this game, I think we probably did highlight them as really key players to watch. The fact that they're out due to illness is a big blow to Great Britain. You've got a strong line, but you're playing with 12 players. That's hard work.
Although this is the game, if you're going to be ill for any of them and in absentia, this is the one you want to miss, because, as we've said, it's possibly a foregone conclusion that the USA are going to take that top spot and that immediate qualification into the semi-final bracket.
USA on game point here, coming out with the disc in hand. Big around break to Opie Payne. Centres. Continues the flow across the field. Payne's available deep if they can get the disc to her. She sets off now at pace. And that is the target. That is the conclusion of the game. No, it's going to go back. There's been a call on the play. Opie Payne doesn't get a third point.
I was not surprised to see that. Kwan went down hard in the middle of the field. And I believe there must have been some contact which caused the stumble.
Payne and Kwan. The game advisor, Oliver Brown, nearby, listening on, prepared to provide a perspective. So game advisors are not referees. They don't actively get involved unless they're requested for an opinion. And even then, it is just an opinion.
And of course, the USAU rules set a slight
it's
difference.
just going to go back anyway. So that's a foul, contest, disc is coming in on. Coming in on one.
Session will stay with the US. Disc goes back to Claire Trope.
Trope on the sideline. The USA. Lindsley, great movement, picked off by Trope. Movement from Normile, Lindsley. Trope on the Vadable on the far side. Continues the flow across to Williams into the end zone. USA cleaning it up. Trope receiving. And that is a big win, opening their account with a massive margin here in the opening game of World Games. USA off to a flying start, Hannah.
Well, banking hours are officially closed for the day here on day one. Birmingham, Alabama. My goodness, that was such a devastating end to the first half for Team GB. Gave them a proper good shake and a bit of open side action. Nice, easy goal there for Claire Trope to finish us off and put the final one in the vault for today. I don't really think Team GB looked, apart from those first 3 points where we had a little bit of excitement and there were some blocks from both sides, it just became a little bit too much, weight and pressure from the USA side. We haven't seen them play too many preparation tournaments apart from Poultry Days coming into this event. But when you have the quality and depth of the US scene to play against in your tryout squad, that intensity, they came out, executed nice and cleanly. Hopefully we'll get a full squad, the full 14 for Team GB later on in the stages of this pool format. But Team USA, the ones to beat for sure.
They are the ones to beat, and people would have said that before this game, they'll say it afterwards, but what they will notice, the O-line for USA got turned over 7 times. Now, against other teams, that is not going to be enough. Let's see some highlights of the game as this final game of the opening day of the World Games. With USA, Opie Payne with her 2 goals and 2 blocks in her account. Abrams with the big shots deep to Gordon. Saw the London deep shot connection a number of times for Great Britain. Big block from Ben Barak. They needed to convert more of the opportunities and not give the USA as many opportunities. Freechild fired up after that big bid. The USA taking this game on. They will play Canada. Sorry, they will play Canada on Thursday. Tomorrow they play Germany in what's going to be a highlight for this pool. And they'll be happy with the way they started. World Games, USA 13 and GB 7.
Day one of the World Games is in the books, and the United States, pretty impressive in their first opportunity to take the field against somebody else in this actual competition. The U.S. wins it 13-7 over Great Britain, and we welcome you back to Birmingham with Daryl Stanley and Megan Tormey. I am Evan Lepler. Tom and Liam and Rael and Hannah did a great job today in the Olympic Channel studios, and we have had the privilege of being on the sidelines baking in this heat all day long. Megan, your impressions on the USA opening statement here in Alabama?
What a defensive spectacle that was. I mean, there were so many great Ds from Trope, El Salam, just really fantastic individual efforts, and a lot of individuals working together to create the opportunity for those Ds to happen.
Daryl?
Yeah, I mean, Nate Goff's D was really impressive to me, too. A little concerning that a lot of those Ds were off of offensive turns for the O-line. So, something to worry about, but yeah, the defense showed.
They showed they could get the disc back. I think USA had 8 breaks in the game as we look into the highlights. Heck of a snag there by Williams to get the first GB break of the game, and that was just one of the 2 turns in the first half. That was the other one.
Great push block. Brilliant by Burek, right? Just, I love how he reads that and just can get out in the lane. I was hoping to see more of that throughout the game, honestly. He just cleaned it up.
It was interesting. I mean, 7-3 at halftime, back-to-back breaks for the Brits out of the gate in the second half, but from 7-5, USA really kind of stormed forward, led 12-6, so a 5-1 run to basically put the game away.
Well, I think this is the point here where it's like Great Britain had an opportunity to get this break. They had the disc to take it to maybe make it 6-7. I think that's a really interesting game at that point. You know, like to get 3 straight breaks out of the half, they were really starting to bring some momentum, but. Yeah, then the defense took over for...
Like that drinking tea celebration from Khalif?
Oh, wow.
You knew he would come up with something, and I'm sure he's got something for every game.
Between what Khalif did and there was a moment I saw just an incredible celebration between Dylan Freechild and Chris Kotcher. They had an elongated high-five exchange that was better than anything I've ever seen from, like, LeBron James, or who has individual high-fives for every player. That was special. So there's some camaraderie building with this U.S. group, but Great Britain pushed them to that place.
Yeah, Great Britain playing slightly shorthanded. No Ashley Yo out there, so hopefully he'll be all right. But the Americans emerge victorious, 13-7. And as we start to look ahead to day 2, which will begin at 9:30 a.m. Central Time here in Birmingham tomorrow, there's only one game tomorrow between teams that are both 1-0. And that's USA-Germany in the first game of the second window, so the third game of the day tomorrow. USA-Germany, I mean, the Germans won 13-5 over Canada this morning. It's been a long day. For folks who missed Germany, Megan, this morning, what should USA be expecting tomorrow against the German squad that was fantastic?
Well, first of all, the German offense was so pristine, so pristine. I feel like Great Britain was giving the U.S. a lot of opportunities in addition to the United States generating those opportunities. So the USA squad is going to have to be prepared for a team that is not going to give the disc up so easily when they play Germany. The other thing that they're going to have to be prepared for is Germany is going to try and dictate their offensive pace and where they're able to put the disc with their defense. We saw them do it to Canada, push them to the sideline. We saw throws go out of bounds, or Germany run through Ds right at the edge of the sideline. So Germany is going to try and dictate the shape of their offense.
Yeah, and I think that what we saw in the very first one from Germany against Canada, their offense took their time. They said, what's happening out here? Just the patience was really impressive to make sure they didn't get a turn. And they finished the game with 0 turnovers, for those who didn't see, the O-line of Germany. So I think that's going to be a great contrast to this USA D-line that just showed that they can bring pressure, they can bring that heat. I'm really intrigued by this. This is going to be a good matchup.
Daryl, I wanted to ask you this at halftime, but we ran out of time, so I'll bring it up now. A team like USA with so much talent and so much brain power in the coaching staff has a litany of things that they could do tactically. What did you see from USA from a strategic standpoint that caught your eye?
Wow, I think their offense, like the spacing that they had in their offense was immense. I saw them doing a lot of basically attack the middle offense. They're not always they had both rails, cutter sig on both rails, and willing to cut in the middle of the field and like sit fully on the rail. Even if the disc was on the same side as them, they weren't clearing that space. So they were really like very purposeful about saying, hey, I'll reset the disc at that point, get it back to the middle of the field. I have not seen the U.S. play such a spread offense in quite a while. So I think that was really interesting tactically for them.
Megan, anything tactically catch your eye? The defense employed forced middle a bunch during the game, which led to some Great Britain confusion.
Yeah, it certainly did. And then you saw so many players being aware of where the person they were defending it was, as well as other individuals. And I think it really helped generate opportunity, both in terms of their ability to like make Ds in the middle of the lane, but also force some shots from Great Britain that I'm sure they want back. And then players, like I said, I pointed out Trope and El Salam's D earlier. It was like just fantastic. They had those opportunities because the team defense was so tight.
A look at the stats. The Americans very efficient on their break chances, more efficient with their D-line offense, Darryl, than with their O-line. They only had 2 turnover-free holds, and one of them was the last point of the game.
Yeah, that's where I'm most concerned. I felt like one of their responses after one of those, one of the times they got broken, was to just run a instant huck to Jack. I don't think that was that open. I'm a little concerned about some of the aggressiveness of their looks, but hey, if they're very confident in their two-way ability, which I think they are, their players are just able to get that disc back. It allows you to take those risks and to like lean into some of the athleticism and throwing talent that they have.
Great Britain, Canada tomorrow. A de facto elimination game on day 2 of the tournament. Quick thought on that before we take a break and get to our interview.
Well, I think Great Britain showcased a lot of talent today, and they came prepared for the speed the game was going to be played at. Didn't see that from Canada yesterday, so they are going to have some sort of team huddle that brings them into the state of preparation before they play Great Britain tomorrow.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, we don't even know what Canada is necessarily trying to do. I mean, DeSantos looked ready to go. Yeah. I think if they can reshape the offense around her, maybe something could really happen here. But I'm really thinking that this is going to be a rough game for Canada. Interesting.
All right. We're going to take a 1-minute break, and we got Khalif El Salam and Claire Chastain. Both just made their debut at the 2022 World Games. They'll join us here next at our game day set as we wrap up day 1 of the flying disc competition.
The last 50 years have seen a lot of positive change
around a whole range of important issues.
And some things remain reassuringly unchanged.
Like the spirit of our game.
Ultimate is 50 years young
and still a perfect circle
of fair play,
athletic pursuit,
and camaraderie.
In fact, Ultimate was a social network
before social networks even existed.
Respetamos nuestras diferencias
and understand the value that they add.
The revolution of the disc in flight continues to prove
that there's nothing we can't achieve
when we
pull together.
Long live Ultimate.
Larga vida Ultimate.
Long live Ultimate.
Check mic 1, 2.
And here we go with Claire Chastain and Khalif El Salam after a 13-7 win over GB. Claire, you guys have been waiting a long time to get an opportunity to face someone else on this stage. How do you feel you guys played out there today?
I think we played well. I mean, I think obviously we have a lot more to give, both defensively and offensively, but it's nice to kind of have a first test match and showcase kind of what we can do, but also recognize that there's a lot of growth ahead for our team.
Khalif, how's it feel playing for USA at the World Games?
Oh, it feels phenomenal. I think that we have a very high standard for ourselves, and we're not there yet. We haven't hit that sort of level yet, which is both like good and bad. Like bad because we wanted to come out fiery, hot, and really set the tone, but good because we know what we're capable of, and we know that we can get there. So we're excited about it.
In what ways did you fall short of the standard that you are aiming for against GB today?
Yeah, I mean, I think we want to punch a few more breaks in that we had the opportunity to. I think we want to get a little bit closer to some of the deep blocks that I know that we can get. And I think we want to open up our deep game a little bit more. That was kind of one of the focuses, and I don't think we got there yet. I don't think we saw the best of our deep game yet.
Khalif, you found the end zone here. Tell us about the celly.
That was Twitter requested by Del Rico, baby. I got you.
Ooh.
I got you. Twitter requested. Alex Morgan did that celebration against GB, so I thought I'd pull it out. But to touch on what Claire was talking about in terms of things we want to do better, it's like we have never played against somebody elite other than us, right? So just learning how to not only game plan, because the coaches put hours and hours into game planning, but being able to execute. Like, we want to come out and we say we're going to beat this team this way. We got to beat them that way, because we got to trust that our phenomenal coaches have set us up for success. When we go outside game plan and they score because we're outside game plan, that's a reflection on us and our inability to execute.
What would you say was the turning point in that game? Like, just for getting yourselves back on track to trying to play the game that you guys wanted to play. Was there any moment that either of you felt was indicative of that? Where you went maybe astray and brought it back?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like one of the things to note about these games is they feel really fast. So it's hard right now to think about the moment because it just goes by in the blink of an eye. It's a game to 13, 80-minute rounds. So I can't think of anything. I know that there was a turning point, but...
Yeah, I would say that there was a moment when Grant really, got beat a couple times, but we recognized that Grant was out there working really hard, and we know that he's going to get one. We knew that the first, 1 to 4 points of the game were going to be sloppy and hard. For our first game, we're coming out, blah, 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 jitters, excitement. But just to see Grant throw out that level of effort and energy, I think really set the tone for the team as one of our captains and really pushed us to excel and hit that next level.
The way this team was built was interesting because you had set practice weekends, but due to COVID or other personal issues, you always had people missing. Then you came together here in Birmingham last week. Mm-hmm. How have your team meetings and practices built you to this moment today? How are you a different team than you were a week ago?
Yeah, I mean, this time has been invaluable for us. I think Jack, Carolyn, and Dylan are all handling together maybe this week for the first time. So we obviously get some of those extra reps in. And just hanging out and getting to know each other more, those short weekends happen fast. And you can only do so much bonding on GroupMe and Zoom and everything. And so we've really gotten a lot of get to know you games in and board games, just a lot of one-on-one time and also group time. And I think that's been really nice so that this is the first game that we've even seen a level of energy that this team can bring, and we have more to bring, but it's nice to see that we can come together like that, and that was because we hung out so much this week.
Two more quick things. Khalif, you have two Claires and two Carolyns on the team. What do you call those players?
We go last names usually. Chazzy, Trope, Finney, Normile.
All right.
Yep.
And you got Germany tomorrow. They were excellent. I don't know if you were watching this morning. Mm-hmm. What were your thoughts if you saw any of that game, and what will be the focus as you try to turn the page from today and get some rest and get ready for Germany?
Yeah, I was personally impressed with their discipline, and I think what I would love to focus on is to rattle them. Just give them, put a lot of pressure on and build it up throughout the game and see how much pressure we can put on them and if they can stay disciplined through that kind of pressure.
Yeah, they had an excellent game against Canada.
Yeah.
Phenomenal game against Canada. They're not playing Canada tomorrow.
Well said.
All right, Khalif El-Salam and Claire Chastain. What a day it has been here at the World Games. First of all, Khalif and Claire, thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck tomorrow. And thank you, wherever you are around the world, for joining us here today in Birmingham, Alabama. A memorable opening day of an event that we had to wait an extra year for with the pandemic pushing the World Games to 2022. But we are just getting underway. We'll be with you starting at 9:15 a.m. Central Time here in Birmingham tomorrow morning. Australia and Japan will get day 2 quadruple header underway. But for now, on behalf of everyone with our World Flying Disc Federation crew, for Megan Tormey and Daryl Stanley, I'm Evan Lepler saying good night from Alabama. We will see you bright and early tomorrow. Thank you for watching this exclusive World Flying Disc Federation coverage of the World Games. On behalf of our entire crew in Madrid and everyone here in Birmingham, Alabama, I'm Evan Lepler. This has been a copyrighted presentation of the International World Games Association in conjunction with the Olympic Channel and the World Flying Disc Federation.